Hello, everyone. Welcome to panel 2 of the Global Youth Sustainability Summit. Our second panel is Sustainability, Youth Holds the Key. As we all know, the future of our planet lies with all of us, especially with the youth who need to take their matters into their own hands and step up to the cause. Our panelists today are Kacper Nowicki, Amila Rahima Husna, Yohana Fontela, and Sidhartha Salagrama. Kacper is a vegan activist from Poland, a media coordinator of advocacy think tank Green Rev Institute, and a student of University of Economics and Business in Poznan. And he is a former leader of Youth City Council in Poznan. Amila Rahima Husna is a leader of Jakarta at Youth and Sustainability Indonesia. She is passionate advocate of zero waste and an environmentally friendly lifestyle. Yohana Fontela is a Climate Pact ambassador for the European Commission, as well as the vice president of EOS, working in empowering the next generation, building Europe's green future. Currently, she is doing a double bachelor student, and she is studying economics and politics by LSE and business and leadership by Forward College. For her, raising awareness about climate change is the first step to making people act. Concepts like climate change, sustainable consumption, zero pollution, or sustainable transport are hard to understand for many people. Having a better explanation would help the whole movement. As an economics student, she is really interested in the way that this matter affects the economy. Sidhartha Salagrama is a graduate in sustainable development. He's an activist in the environmental aspects of sustainability, worked on multiple livelihood enhancement projects for the local fisheries communities under INCOIS, MOES, and NDMA in India. He is working towards mitigation strategies for climate change and environmental degradation. Now, let us get started on our panel with our very esteemed panelists. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for the invitation. It's great to hear you and see you.
It's great to meet you all. Okay, starting off our panel questions. As we know, the theme of today's conference is Never Too Young to Make a Difference. How can the youth influence the policies contributing towards sustainability? Yohana, do you mind starting us off?
Yeah, for sure. I think youth are the leaders of tomorrow, and the best way of influencing the policies towards sustainability is through education and advocacy. And education is truly key to be able to come up with solutions that are constructing a more sustainable world. And advocacy gives you totally the power to be heard, which is something important. And apart from that, we need to have in mind that we lead by example. So whatever we fight for, we truly need to do it first.
I totally agree with that. And I think that is something that people need to stand by. Whatever you stand for, you need to exemplify it yourself. Kacper, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yes, of course, because I'm thinking on European level and also on Polish level, because as you surely know, in Europe, we have a tradition of old men ruling the countries, the cities, and the whole communities of countries. And youth is not very often taken into consideration as a part of political discussion. Mostly, especially in Poland, youth is only taken for press conferences as a background, or just to say something what adults cannot from the parties. But if you want as youth to take important part in this political system, for example, in Europe, or specifically in Central Europe, as Poland, for example, you need to organize, professionalize, and fund. You need to start your own organizations, not only be part of organization created years ago, like, for example, youth parts of political parties. You have to professionalize, then act by law and know your rights and exemplify there, as Johanna said. And also you have to fund, because we have to be honest. It's great to post some things on social media. It's great to go on streets with a banner, but to make a real change, sometimes you need to fund. You need to talk with politicians, but on higher level, sometimes with lobbyists, sometimes with political organization, but you have to professionalize and to organize, you need to fund. And that's the basic, in my opinion.
Thank you so much for both of you for sharing that. And never too young to make a difference, never too early to make a change. This could not be more true, as I have seen in my own case. When I founded EcoTeens, I was concerned that no one will actually take me seriously, as I was only 14 when I started, and when I started reaching out to ambassadors across the world. And here we are having this great conversation, and I'm really happy that we could take it this far. Thank you so much for sharing that. Initiating social movements to urge policymakers to tackle environmental challenges such as climate change. What can youth do today to influence policymaking for a long-lasting impact? Amila, do you mind starting us off for this question?
Sure. Thank you so much, Pragna. Actually, before we need to know what we are discussing is adaptive problem. And this will be a long-term challenges because this process aims to change the norm and the thought of the stakeholders. As a young people, we need to make them realize this goal is important. And how we do that? Urging them is easy if we work together, because the industry will adopt the behavior as consumption. And that's what we do. And yes, our focus is education consumer, with our slogan is smart consumer. In Indonesia, the voice of young people are starting to be heard in small companies and big companies. The awareness of young people who don't want to buy products that are not eco-friendly is starting to have an impact, such as a coffee shop in Indonesia that changed their packaging from plastic cups into the cardboard glasses, or they start to manage their waste. And actually, GYSS is under several giant companies. There is the Body Shop Indonesia, the WWF Indonesia, and RSPO Indonesia. RSPO is what's Renewable Sustainable Palm Oil, and the others. They are really aware about the sustainability things. Like the Body Shop Indonesia has program to use it until it's run out for their products. By the way, the Body Shop Indonesia is a cosmetic company, and RSPO is an eco-label company. That's if the product is used palm oil and has what it has one of the ingredient is palm oil and has eco-label RSPO label, means the ingredient of the palm oil is eco-friendly. So actually what does the mean? As a young people, we need to continue to speak out and share this awareness as much as possible. Join organization and force, because you will need a lot of voices to be able to influence government policy. But the most important thing is actually the your real step from your changing consumption behavior, for example, like buying products that has eco labels, regulation, consumption in buying clothes. Just don't over consumption. And actually, eco-friendly items won't be eco-friendly anymore if you don't use them until the end of their consumption period, until they run out. But actually, eco-friendly is a little bit expensive for that has eco-label products. And everyone that doesn't have enough money to pay 2 times more, right? But it doesn't matter. You can still contribute. The key is regulation your consumption. Don't overconsumption, and even you can do it's also it just only a small thing, like eating all your food on your plate, or stop using disposable use items. Just do whatever you think it's good and you can afford it, and tell your friends, tell your parents, even tell your neighbor if you can. But the important tell them about the importance of sustainability. By gradually people consumption will affect the long-term policy, because changing people consumption means change the industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Amila. And I think what you brought up is really important, that not only buying eco-friendly products, but also using them in an eco-friendly way and using the most out of them. Thank you for mentioning that. Sidhartha, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Pragna. So as Amila just said, it is common knowledge by this point that the biggest cause of degradation in environmental quality is actually due to proper policy changes that are not being brought forward in the business sector of the society. And it is a good thing that people are understanding slowly but surely that climate change is a real challenge and has the potential to threaten our existence as we know it. So how can this newfound knowledge and urgency among the youth be used to initiate change in the way policies are made, and what kind of issues need to be tackled to make sure sustainability is also incorporated into policies that revolve around the business sector? Well, social movements are no longer just a big group of people that are marching down the road. Over the last few years, there have been so many technological changes, and in the first panel, I was listening to someone talk about how the youth today have so many more means of protesting or talking or spreading the word, that is through social media and other forms of mass media. And so yeah, so the youth of this day have reached that no other generation ever had, and this is the biggest point that needs to be considered. And raising awareness about a particular issue has never been easier. And yeah, making sure the government listens to us can be achieved by making sure everyone understands the issue that we have at hand at this point of time. Initiating social movements to raise concerns, and the youth will be given a chance to voice themselves and thereby work to bring about a change in how the policies are laid down for different sectors of the society, and how we can make environmental sustainability that it needs to be considered, but it also needs to be one of the forerunners in the policy making process. And also, one thing that we always talk about in sustainable development is not just coming up with policies, but making sure they're implemented properly. I could sit down and come up with a couple hundred ideas or policies right now, but what is the point? I do not have the means nor the power to make it happen. So there are different things that might come in the way. Costs might come out to be too high, or a particular idea might not be possible with the technological advancements that we have at this point of time. So all of these issues considered, implementation is one of the major factors that has to be taken into mind. And yeah, youth can, of course, make a change in the policy making process, but we need to make ourselves be heard by the government or whoever is in charge of making the policies by standing together and making sure everyone around the world understands what the particular problem is that we're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sidhartha. I think that was really impactful. And as you mentioned, you can't, even though you might have a bunch of ideas of how to influence these policymakers or make new policies, you don't always have the right resources to implement that. And it's important to do what you can to make this difference. Living in Washington, D.C., I see several monument movements demanding the government's attention, as you can imagine, across the White House. But I'm seeing more and more youth come forward to demand their bright future on this planet, rightfully so. And we also need more youth in politics and leadership so that they are aligned with everything that we are talking about right now. They bring diverse perspectives and a lot of long-lasting impacts that can sustain for decades to come. And I think that's really important, and I think that aligns to what you both mentioned. So thank you for that. Today, there are 1.2 billion young people aged 15 to 24 years, accounting for 16% of the global population. The active engagement of youth in sustainable development efforts is central to achieving a sustainable world. How can we accelerate this engagement for a wider impact? Kacper, do you mind starting us off?
Yeah, thank you, Pragna. It's very interesting to me to hear or to be a part of this discussion, because as a youth, we have a right especially specifically, I'm talking about Poland right now, where youth is a generation born after fall of communism. So we don't know. So only what we know is freedom, and that's what makes us a generation who have to make a next step. What I mean, I heard few terms on our debate, and I hear them every day when I hear some political public discussion. I hear eco-friendly, sustainability, green, and other words that are not 100% defined. For example, when I hear that some product is eco-friendly, I want to ask how, for example, meat can be eco-friendly. Meat cannot be eco-friendly. You have to feed a cow with hundreds of tons of grains. You have to waste them. You have to waste hundreds of thousands of liters of water, and then you have to change this cow into only a few kilograms of meat. It cannot be eco-friendly. And when we hear from politicians that something is eco-friendly, for example, palm oil, which 80% of production is dedicated to animal factory farming, we have to know that as a youth, we have to move over to a window, because right now in Europe, for example, left parties don't even want to talk about veganism, about reducing emission as fast as we can. They of course talk about this, but programs are not appropriate, and programs is what defines thinking of party. And when we talk about accelerate engagement, we have to know that youth is only group in societies right now who can think in perspective of generation, because as I said before, the generations of politics right now are mostly men, and I will repeat this: there are mostly men, old men, who don't understand perspective of 20, 30, 50 years, because they only think about next election. And when we think about accelerate engagement, we have to know what our engagement is dedicated to. So we should really define the direction that we are heading. And if we want to think about sustainability in economy, in food on our plate, in our light, in our energy consumption, we have to know the facts, we have to know the numbers, and we have to know that when we hear from politicians that it's enough to, for example, reduce usage of water in homes, we have to know that it's not true, that we have to reduce also usage of electricity in whole economy. We have to reduce meat consumption, milk consumption, eggs consumption, and other products. So I think what we need to do to start to talk about this engagement is to define our goals and define words as sustainability, eco-friendly, or green in products and political parties.
You're so right, Kacper. And I've always heard the words green, eco-friendly, sustainable, as you mentioned, a lot when I was younger, but I never really understood what they meant and how they apply to me as a kid until I took it upon myself when I started this organization to dive deeper to understand what they really mean and what I can really do about this crisis. So thank you so much for mentioning that. Amila, do you have anything to add on to that?
Sure, yeah. Actually, sustainability is about reducing. We can just disappear it. No, we cannot do that. We just can reduce it. But if you're asking how we engage this for a wider impact, actually it's collaboration. Do you realize I'm from Indonesia? If you don't know Indonesia, Bali, do you know Bali? Bali is Indonesia. Maybe you were in the morning right now, but I'm here is a midnight. It's almost 12 p.m. But with an internet connection, we can connect like now. But by this, you gave me a new insight, and also I'm sharing my opinions and also information here, and achieve to our goal on expanding awareness and developing the sustainability even better. We can you imagine if I go to USA offline, how many emissions that I will spend? Online collaboration is one of the best if you need to do as soon as possible. And that's what we do in GYSS. We do collaboration with organization, and also we have some branches overseas, like in Malaysia, India, China, and as soon as possible in Europe soon. But actually, if we tell about global, actually it will difficult. If you doesn't have any connection on a global friends, you still can focus on a national, because there is must be a quite a lot of people in your country, and be a common language will be communication easier. But if you have opportunity like this in a global way, just do that, because a lot of fun for meeting a new people from the other countries, like meeting y'all here right now. Thank you.
Amila, I wanted to take a second to acknowledge what it might have taken you to participate in the summit close to midnight at your end. And this is a very big example of your passion. Thank you so, so much for joining us today. And I totally agree. It's great to meet people from everywhere across the world. And I'm really enjoying hearing all of your perspectives on these topics. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm enjoying too. Meeting y'all is excited. I never been before. That's my first time.
Okay, the next question. How can schools and universities contribute towards raising awareness about the sustainable goals? Yohana, do you mind starting us off for this question?
For me, this is one of the most important questions, to be honest. I think raising awareness is key towards a more sustainable world, but universities and schools should focus first on being sustainable. Before raising awareness, they truly need to start being sustainable and to kind of enter this world, which is not easy. It's something that we do at ELSE. We truly work towards sustainability as well as raising awareness. A school and universities could, for example, contribute towards more sustainable way of living by, for example, maybe borrowing books instead of buying books every year. So you kind of reduce this book overconsumption. Apart from that, I think recycling, which is not that easy, and you take for granted that everyone knows how to recycle, but it's not true. Or another example could be using technologies. We have a lot of tools that don't contaminate if we use them, or contaminate less. So it's always, if it's possible, it's a great tool. Especially in elementary schools, if kids start creating sustainable habits, this will totally contribute to a more sustainable transition. It will be something more organic to them, and they will just do it at school and at home. So recycling is the best example. If we are taught how to recycle in middle school, we are able to explain, and we're able to explain the kids why they should do it. They will continue doing it for the rest of their lives. So
thank you so much for sharing that, Johanna. And I totally agree. When I was younger, we barely learned anything in school about when we had no awareness about sustainability or how we can be sustainable. We just lived our lives like nothing was wrong. But growing up, I realized that there are so many problems that we could have known earlier, and we could have changed our lives, and we could have even helped our parents out and educated them on what we could have done, even as young kids, to be more sustainable. And I totally agree with what you said. Siddhartha, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, of course. So, how can schools and universities contribute towards raising awareness? I mean, what can't they do? Schools and universities will be the front runners in raising awareness regarding any issue for that matter. Sustainable development goals have been added into the curriculums of most schools at this point of time. And to be honest, I have never heard of the sustainable development goals till I was in 11th grade. Not really proud of it, but environmental sciences and sustainable development was never a thing for us in school. But I have found out that the whole topic of SDGs is part of the syllabus now in most of the middle school subjects. So changes like this being brought up over time will significantly affect how the next generation looks at these particular issues. Making sure the schools and the universities teach the students about sustainable development and climate change and the numerous issues encompassing these topics, it'll lead to a future where the people know and understand what is going on around them, and will help in producing solutions much easier, and also helps in tackling them much better. I have done my bachelor's in sustainable development, and here in India, whenever someone asks me what I study, it takes me 2 days to explain what it is. The whole topic of sustainability is so rare that most of the general public does not understand the concept. But the fact that there is a course out there that is teaching us sustainable development at this point of time is a sign by itself to show that changes are being made. And now we know that schools and universities are bringing about changes. And also the fact that we're sitting here right now in a summit that was arranged by Pragna is a sign by itself that schools, the youth are actually learning. The schools are teaching the students that it is an issue that needs to be tackled, and all of the students need to look at it from a young age so that they understand what it is. So yeah, that's how I think that schools and universities should contribute to raising awareness and are raising awareness about the sustainable development goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I totally agree. I do agree that they have started to put out more awareness, like flyers and stuff around the school to be like more sustainable, like recycle like plastic and stuff like that. But it's not enough. Like they just have flyers in a corner of a school. Nobody's going to see that and really think about that and realize that they need to make a difference. So I agree with both of you saying that we really do need to make a bigger difference and schools need to bring about more change. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have anything to add to this question? Okay. So this is a general question for everyone. Do you believe that sustainability and climate change crisis and potential solutions, including what students can do to address the crisis? Because I see all topics in history, science, and math, but the clock is ticking on climate change and the time is now. Kacper, do you mind starting us off?
Oh, but could you repeat the question? I'm sorry, but I had some problem with connection, and I only heard the clock ticking.
It's all right. Do you believe that sustainability and climate change crisis are potential solutions, including what students can do to address the crisis?
You know, what I meant when I told about raising engagement of youth and engagement of our generation into climate change issue and biodiversity loss, was that it's an issue that will define our future. And I don't mean that it will define our future by how we can study English or Spanish, or how we can, be I don't know, be living in Poland or in France. It will define our life, like, will we have something to eat or will we not? And when I think about activism of youth, and I think about this, what we should do and how we should connect the paths and the levels that we act on, is that there is no more important thing than climate change and biodiversity loss right now when it comes to our civilization. Because if we think that this civilization that we now have is something that is worth to save, and I think it should be matter of discussion, by the way, but it's not for today, I think, that then the saving climate and by the biodiversity and change our economy into sustainable. So what I told you before, what I think about sustainable world, is what we have to do as soon as possible, and it will define life of youth on activism, business, political, and educational level.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I totally agree. I think that is very relevant to what is going on in the world right now. Thank you so much. Yohana, what can students do to help? What can students themselves do to help this climate change crisis?
This is a really good question. And to be honest, we need to start by saying what you mentioned already. Climate change is something that is really time sensitive. and we truly need to act now, because if not, we're not even going to have the chance to do that. So the best way of truly making an impact and starting in all this sustainable world is just evaluating your life, seeing all the things that you do, what you eat, how you move around, and all the activities that you do, and start making changes. It's not possible to be fully sustainable. It's not possible to change everything from one day to another. But if you make changes slowly, you're truly going to make an impact. I have heard many people being like, oh, I don't recycle because if I only recycle and the rest don't, it's like not that useful. And this is such a lie. Every small action is really, really relevant. And of course, things like this, I truly congratulate you. You're making a change for sure. You're making an impact. And this is also a great way of contributing.
Thank you so much. And that is really, really something that I live off of. Like everybody has the same mindset that if they do something, it's like, it doesn't matter because nobody else is doing it. So what is one plastic bottle? If I throw it in the trash, it's fine. But every single person has the same mindset. And unless we change that mindset, we cannot get anywhere in what we're trying to achieve with our goal. So thank you so much for mentioning that. You are all ambassadors and you're right, representing your countries on the cause of sustainability. It's very important to keep our house in order before we can take on community causes. However, to create the much needed momentum to address this mammoth crisis, we need a global coalition. Can each of you share your thoughts on how we can build a global awareness and a coalition to make incremental changes? Because we are all so savvy with technology and internet use. So the question is, can each of you share your thoughts on how we can build a global awareness and a coalition to make incremental changes?
Well, I guess we can say SDG 17 itself talks about partnership for the goals. And we have to look at coalition because it is important, because we are not only sharing information, we are not only sharing knowledge that each country possesses or gains over the years, we're also sharing technical advancements. And also the developed countries can help the developing countries reach a certain level of sustainability that we're looking at. And coalition can be reached through, well, anything for that matter. We're looking at social media. We're all connecting on LinkedIn. We're sitting here in this particular summit. We're talking about coalition. In a way, we are forming a coalition. We are all from different countries. We are all talking about the same particular goal that we want to meet. So yeah, meeting with the people who have the same mindset, who have the same goals in mind, and therefore working towards this particular goal is enough of a coalition already towards what we want to meet. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I totally agree. Like, social media is one of the best ways to connect and help build a good community. Does anybody else have anything to share?
Definitely. I think that one of the key points is focusing on Sustainable Goal 17, partner for the goals. And it's something that we cannot do alone. And something already really, really important is we need to collaborate depending on the situation of each country. I'm originally from Spain. I'm part of Europe, so we have a lot of benefits in terms of sustainable. Thankfully, we have the European Commission, which they have a lot of great initiatives and they're truly trying to make a change, but we have the resources. There are others, countries that don't really, like I said, I'm from Spain. Geographically, I'm not from Spain, I'm from Africa. So you can totally see the difference between how climate change, for example, affects in Spain or how any African country. So I feel like collaborating and truly make up for those that can't, it's truly key to achieve our goals.
Thank you so much, Yohana, for mentioning that. As you guys said, and as Sidhartha said, these conversations are coalitions in themselves. And we really need to continue these conversations and have more of them to discuss on more topics and more important and diverse topics in this large umbrella called sustainability. My last question is, can each speaker give one specific sustainable recommendation that us as EcoTeens can do? Kacper, do you mind starting us off?
It will not be a surprise for you. 2 words, go vegan. And that's all. And I don't really think that's even funny. I mean, it's the only way in our food system.
I totally agree with that, and that really resonates with me. I'm a vegetarian myself, and I have thought a lot about going vegan, and I've gone one step into that so far. So thank you for sharing that. Amila, do you have anything to share?
Sorry, pardon.
Can you please give one specific sustainable recommendation that us as EcoTeens can do?
Actually, I love the vegan one. People need to start to be vegan because it's healthy and it's more cheaper than you think. But one of most that I love in sustainability topic is sustainability fashion sustainability. That's very rare to talk about. And as a youth, we understand about clothes is something about our social, but actually it's not. We need to give them a step. So sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I do agree. I think going vegan will really help. If more people go vegan, then we'll obviously be more sustainably friendly. Yohana, do you have anything to share?
For sure. I think something that EcoTeens could do and could focus in is in education. At the end, the act of teaching people and letting people know what is climate change, why it's happening, how can we stop it, is definitely key to make sure we contribute to sustainable consumption or anything related to climate change.
Yes, I totally agree that teaching will obviously help more people learn about what they can do. Thank you. Sidhartha, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I was going through the social media pages of EcoTeens, and whatever work you've been doing has been really great. And I think that you should just keep doing whatever you're doing, arrange more events, try to reach more people as you keep doing so, try to increase your reach and keep inviting people, keep talking to them, organize these events more so. And I'm pretty sure it'll be the best thing you can possibly do.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. So as a summary of all of the practical sustainable solutions provided by you all, going vegan, fashion sustainability, teaching and raising awareness, and reaching out more and keeping the good work we already have in place going. Thank you so much for your valuable time and your valuable insights to bringing it to the summit. And it really shows your passion in sustainability. And I really appreciate all of your hard work and your support with this summit. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the invitation.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.